Okay, we're going to do a quick weekly review. Try and keep it relatively short, like 10 minutes. So let's go. So, first we got here, this is on my radar, this story here. This is regarding and it's a situation going on in Peru. Basically, what's going on in Peru is that the Peruvian government and the Chinese government are getting very, very cozy. And as you see here, Peru PM says boost in China's investments will not prompt U.S. resentment. That's unlikely. It will prompt resentment, and this is one to watch. Now, basically, what's going on is Peru and China is building a massive port for Peru right here at this town, right around this area. No, I think it's actually somewhere else, but some city here. There's a on the coast a large port that China is basically building for them, and there's also some plans way down the road to build a railroad across Brazil, across Bolivia, and across Peru and to that port, essentially connecting Brazil to China, bypassing the Panama Canal. So this is a pretty big deal, and we're going to see how this develops. This is going to be an ongoing issue. Essentially, there's going to be a big meeting. Apparently, I guess Xi Jinping himself is coming to Peru. So that'll be a big deal if it's not totally drowned out by the election, because it's in November. And then we started off the week pretty hot. We had Biden at a fundraiser with Obama, where on the stage he just freezes for like 10 minutes and has 10 seconds and has an Alzheimer's moment. And we had this whole ridiculous situation going on for the rest of the week where the White House spokeslady was saying that that video, or she was implying that that video was a deep fake. And this is an interesting strategy because what she's basically doing is she's targeting boomers. And whenever they say deep fake, what that means is they're targeting boomers. They're trying to convince boomers to not believe their lying eyes. And because boomers are so clueless about these things, they're going to tend to believe the deep fake story, even though it wasn't a deep fake. Biden actually froze on stage, and it raised a lot of questions. And we're definitely seeing in the U.S. election a general shift into favor Trump at this point. Now, I said a while ago that with the Israel war and Biden trying to play both sides of that, that has not helped him out. And Trump, being a super Zionist type of guy, is getting all of the support from the Israeli lobby, basically. And I think it's been a noticeable difference in the trajectory of the election. Another surprising thing is Senegal's PM basically was talking on an interview and saying, we may want to get French forces out of Senegal. So that is just him talking, as politicians tend to do. So we'll see where that goes. He could just be trying to please his base, please people in the country, and all that. Also in Africa, we had Niger revokes French company's operating permit at major uranium mines. So this is actually pretty startling. And this is one of the largest uranium mines in the world. And they said basically the French company can no longer do business there. So in Congo Kinshasa, we're seeing a continuation of the story. Basically, there's 3 Americans on trial. There's several other people on trial for the failed coup attempt. Malanga was the guy who orchestrated the coup. So Malanga was a Congolese dissident slash emigre who had a lot of connections to NGOs. He had connections to political figures, and he had connections to the UK government. That's what I've heard. Now, to me, I don't buy yet that the US government itself or UK government would have actually been involved and greenlit this very poorly executed attempted coup. So, but maybe somebody within these governments was actually encouraging it. And we'll probably never know. But that trial is going to go forward. They could get the death penalty. I'd like to see if the United States tries to get one of these guys back. If they don't even care and let the Congolese government jail them or execute them, then you can rest assured that they're not important assets. So here we have a story. Basically, Somalia is asking the African Union to keep peacekeepers in Somalia a little bit longer, and they're saying they're worried about insurgents. But I also think that they want the African Union to stay behind to basically free up their own forces so that they can possibly repel a civil war with Somaliland, with Ethiopia backing Somaliland, which has been an ongoing saga. Basically, Ethiopia wants to get access to these ports over here. I forget which one, and they said they would even support Somaliland's independence if they were allowed to build a port. So this is going to be a contentious issue continuing to move forward. We don't hear a whole lot about it. Now, Ethiopia is a member of BRICS. Ethiopia has traditionally been more eastward facing than a lot of other countries in Africa, probably because of their history, their independent spirit. The only country in Africa that wasn't colonized, one of the few countries in Africa that wasn't colonized by a European or major power. So obviously, the United States does not want Ethiopia, and the West does not want Ethiopia to get access to the sea, and that's been an ongoing. This area, as we've seen with Yemen, is an extremely strategically important part of the world, and there's been an effort to keep Ethiopia away from the sea for a long time, and Sudan as well. So that's going to be an ongoing issue. Another interesting story was Russia saying that they're ready for a prisoner swap for the Wall Street Journal reporter who was caught, I believe, trying to take pictures of military bases. He says, and everybody swears up and down, that he's not a asset in any way. It's possible that he was tricked into being an asset, but I think he was either tricked into being an asset by someone in the embassy in Moscow or was an actual asset. It wouldn't be the first time that a journalist has been an intelligence asset. But they're actually offering... So apparently the Russians want this guy, Vadim Krasikov, back. So I guess he's serving a life sentence in Germany. I'm not sure why they picked him. Who knows? Maybe he's some sort of asset. Maybe not. What I was really interested in lately is, if I recall correctly, India seemed to be warming up to China last year, and there were negotiations on this disputed border region over here. All this with the dotted line over here. This is disputed. There was a war back in the 70s, I think, and there's been, off and on little border clashes going on. And but especially since Modi came back in this last term, it seems like he is taking a harder line against China, and I can't help but think that this is to attract U.S. investment of some sort. So he's playing the game. He's not going to be antagonistic towards Russia, so he has to be antagonistic towards somebody, apparently. So he's choosing China. There are some issues between China and India, but I think this is more to attract investment than anything else, as it is obvious that the United States is looking for substitutes to China. I don't think that's going to work out either, but that's a different story. We had actually a pretty big incident go on in the South China Sea where they were squabbling over this useless shoal, the Second Thomas Shoal, out here in the South China Sea, and apparently Chinese Coast Guard boarded some vessels or some rafts and confiscated supplies that were being delivered to this sunken ship that the Filipinos are basically posting up on and using as a base out here. So this is one of the most hairy incidents we've had so far this year. And so this is going to be a point of contention moving forward for sure. And what's going on over here in the south of the world is apparently first China, first Australia last week, and now New Zealand signed a starting trade talks with China. So it appears as though Australia and New Zealand are trying to play both sides, or trying to at least interact with both sides in the ongoing great great war of the world between the United States and China and Russia. So we'll see how this develops. Now, personally, I think when push comes to shove, no matter how close Australia and New Zealand get to China in terms of trade and other forms of cooperation, when push comes to shove, they will sell out to the United States. There's no doubt about it, whether it's good for them or not. So that's about it. I'm going to keep this one short, but I'm going to post the map on the YouTube comments. I am out.